Live from the Talking Joe studios,
it's Talking Joe with Chief and Chris. Hey, it's me, the Chief Dog. I'm here, joined by my buddy, as always.
Chris Cat, aka Diagnostic 80 from the Full Force, and Talking Joe's now, of course. How's it going, buddy?
I am still ill. I went to...
Oh, before you do keep going, you're not going to jump into Chief's mind immediately again, are you?
No, I'm not
okay.
going.
Just checking, because I thought, brilliant, we'd get 3 seconds in. But so,
yeah. We're going to keep it on a positive note for at least 2 minutes before we bring it down. Yeah, still ill. I had a few days off work, basically called the GP, got a call back. I called at 8 a.m. Finally, the doctor called back at 2, and basically I wanted to go in and get examined. You know, they finally had the x-ray results from my last journey. It was like 10 days later.
Oh.
And he said, I've looked at them and it looks clear. And I was thinking, yeah, but that was 10 days ago. But anyway, I wanted to go in and get checked out. But he kind of said antibiotics aren't going to help and basically prescribed me a salbutamol inhaler over the phone, which my wife, who's a nurse, later told me that's probably one of the most unprofessional things she's ever heard of.
Wow.
Someone prescribing medicine, pharmaceuticals over the phone without actually looking at someone.
Wow.
But anyway, picked up that inhaler, tried it for a couple of days. I think it's possibly getting better, but I'm going to give it a few more days and if not, go back to the GPs. But that's not stopping me from tomorrow, which is I've got an annual leave day and I've got a full-on board gaming session from 8 a.m. till 7 p.m.
Nice.
Yes. Me and my friends are going to be playing Scythe, the campaign. I've mentioned it on the show before. It's a 1920s kind of alternate history Russia.
Wow.
Where you build up an economy of farming and agriculture plus big mechanized mechs basically, and do warring with people. And this is the campaign mode. Has played over 8 games and we played 3 last time, so we're going to try and do at least 3 this time. And it's like a legacy game. So in the expansion box, you have sealed compartments which you don't open until you're instructed to by the campaign log guidebook. And so we don't know what's coming up, but
that's
really
looking forward
to
man.
that.
That sounds awesome. I'd love to get involved in that.
Yeah, good stuff. What about yourself? What have you been up to?
Not much, really, other than just kind of head down, getting on with things in terms of, work and stuff like that. So, yeah, kind of getting ready for the Ohio Toy and Comic Show this coming weekend. Looking forward to that. I'm going to be doing a panel on Hoarder.com. And
yes, you mentioned this.
Yeah, so that is something I've kind of been holding back on a little bit. We've been in beta phase now for, it feels like forever, but obviously it takes a long time to get something like this off the ground, especially when it's only like 3 people that are doing it, and in and around other things that you're working on. So it's been a challenge to basically try and get this app up and running, which is basically a social network for collectors. So when the app does eventually kind of get here, which is, honestly, it's like days away, we're just running through the last lot of bugs that we're aware of after doing some hardcore testing for the last month or so. Once that one's up, it should be ready to go without the trading platform. So effectively it will be a place where you can post images of your individual pieces of your collection and build up collections on this app. Nice. So for ease of searching, to show people stuff, for inventory, for insurance purposes, for fun, so that you can chat and comment and and want list certain things, and you can see pretty much whatever people are posting on the live feed at all times. So we've actually got for a beta test, quite a solid user base already that are kind of, again, it's kind of dipped out since we started doing the app, because that took all of the priority. So the website is actually up at HOARDAR.com. That's Hoardar, HOARDAR.com. And you can actually sign up for it and start posting your collection online on the desktop version. And you can even do it on your phone as well via the browser. But obviously we know that once the app is here, then it will be so easy for people to use. So I'm going to use this show now to launch a little mini promo offensive.
Nice.
But yeah, so I'm doing a little panel for that on the weekend, and looking forward to seeing a lot of friends at Ohio, a lot of the Joe crew, and a lot of Roma Collectibles and Toy Department and James Kavanagh and the What's on Joe Mind guys and just all our friends from the Joe community. Can't wait.
Good stuff. Looking forward to it. Right, we need to kick off the show with the new segment, which is a beverage for the show.
Beverage for the show. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Beverage for the show. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Now I am gonna go do-do and drink my beverage for the show.
I was tempted to actually record a new jingle entitled "Beverages for the Show and a Snack."
Oh, nice.
But I'm not going to, so we're just
Okay.
going to play that original one. Because I have 2 beverages and a snack today, 'cause I'm being
Blimey.
greedy.
Blimey.
So the first one I have is a French's vanilla instant coffee granules. Little's French vanilla coffee granules. And I've actually put a bit of Coffee Mate in there as well.
Nice.
Which is like powdered kind of milk, if you will. And I'm just going to have a little taste. Very satisfying. That was secondary. But my first drink is a can of San Pellegrino,
Ooh.
which is
Yeah, I like that,
these
actually.
We've had these in the UK for a couple of years now, and
Yeah.
I love to tell you the reason I like them. I love this bit. They're a can, but they've got that little foil over the
On
top.
top, yes,
Oh
definitely.
my god, it makes them look fancy dancy.
Yeah.
And I've had the lemon and
Yeah.
the grapefruit, but this is a
The blood
orange.
orange?
I'm not actually,
Yeah.
no, it's just the orange. I've not had
okay.
this one. An Italian tradition, arancchiata. I've pronounced that completely wrong. I'm going to peel that foil off the top.
I'm a fan
I'm
of this
gonna
drink.
Crack that open. Let's have
Sound
a little glug.
effects.
Orangey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite spicy, isn't it? Really kind of tangy.
That's nice. And I've also got. I went to at the end of the road. There's an international food store. It's got loads of different foods. Really like it. And I've got a packet of Ulka, which is U with an umlaut, Lker, Ulka Cremali, Doppelkekse mit Crema Fouillon, which I think is a sandwich biscuit with a cream filling.
Wow.
So I'm gonna have one of these. It looks a bit like an Oreo, but with just like a regular biscuit colour instead of chocolate colour.
Yeah, I know what you do. I know the deal.
I'd say a little bit dry on the biscuit side, but overall satisfying. I'm going to dunk one in my coffee. While I do that, you tell me what are your beverages.
Well, considering you sprung it on me that we could record immediately as I woke up,
Again.
I was like, I haven't had time to go to get what I wanted to get because I have. Okay, so probably spoiler alert for next week. But I'm going to go for the new Dr. Pepper. I think it's berry flavour that just came out here.
Interesting.
I really want to try that so bad. So I'm going to be having one lined up for next week. Now, failing that, I raided the kitchen just a few moments ago and thought, you know what? I'm just going to go with my old favourite. Now, again, I'm probably going to blow some minds with the pretentiousness of what I'm going to say now in the next few seconds. But it is jasmine green tea from Twinings. Okay, so I've started off pretentious. It's only going to get worse. I like to with my jasmine green. I like to add a dash of almond milk. So
okay, horrible.
So I'm rocking a tiny dash of almond milk. I know you don't. I'm a fan of.
No, I like almond milk, but I don't like it in jasmine tea.
Oh, okay. Well, it's surprisingly, I think it's great, and it's a lovely combo for me. And also, it's only a dash. We're talking like a rat's whisker of bloop, of milk, and then on top of that, a teaspoon of honey. So just to really ramp up the pretentiousness.
Just reaffirming your weirdo-ness.
Yeah, exactly. So just to really, I to be honest, I just want to hear the Seddons' take on it because they went absolutely nuts with the pizza choices
crazy.
last time, and I want to hear I want to hear their tiny minds explode on Twitter based on what I just said. Then, so anyway, yes, a very refreshing and lovely cup of jasmine green.
I've just smashed all 12 biscuits in that Ulka Cremali pack.
Good man. I'm the same. I can't just have one. I have to have like every single biscuit.
Yeah, I'm trying to go refined sugar-free, which obviously I've just
you ruined it.
I've made a big dent in that. Kind of like when I was going pescatarian and ate 10 burgers. But if you're going to break it big style.
Yeah, break it hard. Yeah.
Right, we've got our beverages. We're all sat down nice. Hopefully you at home have as well. Hopefully you've also got your chips and curry sauce, because unfortunately we've got to go.
Inside Chief's mind. Ah!
Do not go on holiday with a baby.
I will try not to do that.
I just went on a few days break down at Bournemouth, down by the south coast, down on the beach. Nice weather. Me and the kid. The kid is 4 next month.
Oh.
So we are in the hotel room. It's no aircon. It's budget. We want to get a good night's sleep. And at about, 11 p.m. till about 4 a.m, next door's room, crying baby all night. Do not take a baby on holiday with you. I'll tell you for why. Number one, you're not going to have a good holiday.
No.
Because you've got a crying baby with you. Number two, the baby don't give a on holiday. It don't care. It doesn't know any better. Number three, you're just going to annoy other people.
Yeah.
Do not take a baby on holiday. It annoys me greatly.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's difficult for people if they can't get kind of care for that particular
Well, stay
thing,
home
but
then.
stay
Stay home.
That's what I was
Annoy
gonna
your
say.
neighbours. Don't
That's
annoy
what I was
me.
going to say. Just don't go. You don't deserve a holiday. You've ruined
Fact.
your life already.
Fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
There you go. And
Anyway,
then, fortunately, they were only there one night, but then the following night was the Friday night, and lots of stag parties and hen do's in the hotel, and then I had people next door waking me up about 4 hours having sex all night.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. I did that once. Me and my dad went to see...
What, you woke people up all night having sex?
With my dad. No, that's
Yeah.
gross. Me and my dad went to see... Because we're Manchester United fans, so that's probably going to piss other people off as well. But we went
Standard.
to...
You're on a roll today, son.
I know, I'm just killing it. So we went to see them play, I think it was like Wigan years ago, maybe Southampton at home. It was when Ronaldo was still playing for us.
Yep.
And we had a hotel room booked that night because we couldn't be bothered to drive like immediately after the match. So we had the hotel night, and then all night long next door was just two people going hammer and tongs. And I'm not kidding you, we were ourselves, but at the same time it was like, all right, that's enough now, finish up.
Yep.
So we can go to bed. But it was hours. I was impressed.
Yes.
But at the same time, like, gee, this is impressive. I had to put the TV on. But anyway, just a funny side note there.
Yes. Chit chat aside, we need some comic talk.
Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hama writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa. Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hama writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa.
Special missions today. We are covering 22, 23, 24, 25. Let's just kick off with 22. This is called Decisions.
Banger.
Front cover,
Absolute
shockwave,
banger.
busting in through a window, glass everywhere, holding his, what is that? Is that an Uzi with a silencer?
I think
Not
so,
sure.
yeah.
Looks like a bad guy and a kid. In the foreground, this is Larry Hama, writing as always. We've actually got some guest pencils here. This is Dave Cockrum of X-Men fame. And Annie Mazinski's inking, letters is Phil Felix, and colours is Neil Yomtov. This is, in a nutshell, this is a standard-ish hostage situation.
I bloody love this issue.
With people in a house with terrorists, and there's some local law enforcement on the scene, but Joes are called in to go in first, and there's a key twist towards the end. Yeah, so you basically you're straight out the gate liking this.
Absolutely love it. You've got this situation where you've had this like terrorist act in an airport where they've killed loads of people, right?
Oh, it's hyper violent. They've literally
super violent. You don't really find that out until the Joes meet up with
Saxon. I think his name's Saxon. I think he was in Special Mission 17, possibly.
Yeah, one of the kind of CIA stooges kind of dudes.
Yeah.
And basically, they showed this video to the Joe team of this terrorist attack. And what's interesting, actually, to me, is the fact that you've got these masked people, like basically killing loads of people and then killing the guy that was filming at the same time. And then all of a sudden, we're kind of brought back into this situation where this house that the Bronskys live in, which is a family with a child, with a young boy, have been taken hostage. Now, what is amazing about this is that there is a massive twist at the end, which you don't... honestly, it's done so well, I think, that you just don't see coming.
Yes, correct.
And I remember, actually, at the time reading this, I didn't quite understand and had to go back and read it again. And then I got it, and I was like, bloody hell, I almost missed that. It can just, those kind of things can happen with me because my mind wanders all over the place. But what is really interesting is the Joes come on the scene. They see that there is a guy up in the bedroom of the kid's room with a gun, and he's, threatening this kid. And then downstairs we have this group of people, the couple sitting down, blonde hair, blue eyes, the kind of classic, American family-looking couple. And then this kind of harder-edged, rougher, scar on the, scarred mouth, looks like the Joker kind of like other couple. And they're having this argument. This kind of very chill couple are sitting down on the table, very relaxed, very calm. And this other couple are standing up, and they're being very angry, very dominant, very kind of, issuing orders and shouting and all this kind of stuff. And you're kind of led to believe, and I've probably given a spoiler away, that they are the villains of the piece. And in actual fact, the big spoiler is that it's not the case at all. It's role reversal. And as the Joes are attacking going to kind of hit the house, and they do it in such a way which is really cool. They split up into a team. Now, something I'd love to mention is this lineup is brilliant, because you've got Chuckles and Jay, who are wearing kind of like winter clothing, a different winter clothing garb, which is cool for like those two to do. That happens a lot when they'll wear a jacket over the top of their gear. But we also see Shockwave, who is just awesome, and Hit and Run, who is wearing a deco that hasn't been seen before and will never be seen again.
I like that. That's one of the things I was going to ask you, because I only know Hit and Run from his one guise. I don't know, he's probably got more in different editions of the character, different versions of the character. But in white, I thought that was a great look.
It's amazing, and so I did a Tiger Force Hit and Run cosplay last year, and I actually wore it again to Joe Fest. And so he's done it. They brought him out in the Euro exclusive Tiger Force deco, but they were the only two like original version. It was like the original version and the Tiger Force deco. They were the only two hit and runs for a while. There was a planned hit and run. It wasn't necessarily going to be hit and run, but it was the hit and run figure. It was going to be put in a Night Force deco and issued with a stealth tank in '95. But obviously the line didn't make it to '95, so it was scrapped. He did get a modern version in Night Force colours from the club.
Right.
Now, the interesting thing is, in this comic, he comes out in this white gear, and it's amazing. It's just this wicked look on him with the blue straps, the grey helmet, and the red goggles. And they basically attack this house. Hit and Run goes through a sewage tunnel. Shockwave runs from behind a barn to kind of keep cover. And Jay and Chuckles approach in a car to kind of like draw their attention to the vehicle so that those two can kind of, get into the house.
Yep.
As they break in, Shockwave realises he takes out the first guy with the gun in the bedroom, and that's really cool. He smashes through the window, shoots the guy with the gun, just as the cover depicted, which again, I'm happy that all of that's happening. And then as he kills that guy, he realises there's a picture of the kid's family. And the whole time they've been thinking that the hostages were the villains and vice versa. Shockwave realises this fact and goes, oh, shit, I hope Hit and Run realises this when he breaks the door down and attacks his end. And so when he comes in, he smashes the door down, and the guy who is actually the dad, who is got the up face and all this kind of stuff, he's holding the kid's water pistol, which looks like an M16.
Yep.
And then, fortunately for Hit and Run, he doesn't shoot. And in actual fact, it's the other two that react, the blonde woman and the blonde male. And then, obviously, Hit and Run realizes that, shoots the blonde male, but the wife gets away with the kid as a hostage. And that's when we see what happens next.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, obviously, that is kept coming up there is we're almost predisposed, aren't we, to look at things in a certain way, and those characters are depicted, the calm or kind of meekish in this situation, the blue-eyed, blonde-haired guys. You're immediately right. These are the hostages, and then the guy with the scarred face and the hard-looking woman. These are the villains. And like you say, and of course the kid is blonde, so that ties in with you thinking that those two, mum and dad, or the male and female of the mum and dad, but it's not. And that twist, like you said, does come out of nowhere-ish and is a good twist, just done really well. by Harmer.
I like how they break the twist by having the next door neighbour talk to Saxon, and she says he has, was it Rictus or something like that?
Yeah, Rictus. Yep.
And he's like, hang on, what did you say? And then that's when it all kind of they realise, unfortunately, the Joes are already on scene and are attacking, so it's like too late to kind of get the word to them. And so I just thought, oh man, this is just brilliant, and it's great writing from Larry, brilliant execution from the artist, who I think the art on this is really good. I love it, really clear, really some beautiful scenes. And then the final scene is the wife has got the kid and she's running towards this plane that they're gonna basically get on and fly away. And everyone's kind of realizing that, well, if she gets away with the kid's dead. She's going to kill him, no doubt. And like Saxon turns up with his team. The Joes, like they're basically the mother is saying, quick, do something. And I think Saxon says, do you have a clear shot to one of his men? And he's like, no way. And the dad is like, screw that noise. Grabs the gun off one of Saxon's team, gets into position, and they're like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to kill your son. And he's like, no, don't worry, I'll be fine. And shoots her in the head from like a real long distance. And it turns out he was the chief instructor at the Marine Sniper School. So it's like a really cool little twist and a great ending. I just think this is a brilliant special mission. And again, it's like a small like faction of Joe members, but like some really good choices to have Shockwave, Hit and Run, Jay and Chuckles, and also Jay gets shot as well, doesn't she? She gets shot as she approaches the door.
That's right. Yep, she gets peppered right in the chest, doesn't she?
Yeah, but thankfully she's wearing a vest, isn't she?
Yeah. A couple of points I want to pick up on here is number one, right at the end, where the dad snipers out the female terrorist right in the head, right in front of the kid. Next panel, kid's just smiling. Yeah, it's literally, he's seen a woman's face explode from about 2 feet away. And he's fine, whatever. He doesn't need counselling. And the other point is, I thought this issue, the twist aside and all that, it was very, very reminiscent of that one where, do you remember the one set in Germany? Yeah. Where there was another terrorist situation, hostage, and there's a getaway in the van. I thought this was very similar to that, especially in the way that a lot of the exposition is told through the video camera.
Yes. Yeah, very good point. Absolutely.
There's a guy at the airport here who gets drilled and just lots of people getting killed. And it's a similar one. There's a guy outside the store who's taking video footage. Larry's employing that device again, which is, that's cool. It works well. But yeah, overall, I agree with you. I think the art is pretty solid throughout. I like the lineup here.
I love the deco use on Hit and Run as well, and I just thought that was really fun. Like, it was like, oh, cool, they're doing something. They're making him look a little bit like Shockwave with the blue accents as well, so it kind of like ties the team together nicely.
Yeah. There was one bit that I was they're sat down. He's talking to. You still think at this moment in time, it's another thing that leads you to believe that the terrorist and the hostage, vice versa, aren't who they say they are, because he says. As much as I'm against killing, I'd like to see you both dead, which is obviously one of the terrorists is saying to the guy with Rictus. Yeah. Which kind of leads credence, I guess, to him being, the dad, but he's not. But I don't know. I do like it, perhaps not as much as you, but, a very, very solid issue. What's your yo-joage on this?
Well, as much as I am, like, bigging up I think I'm just excited. I did actually give it an 8 out of 10, so it's not, like, full-on 10 beans, but because I think as much as I do like it, I wanted even more from it. And there's not even much like you can do in that space. Like, I just wanted it to be bigger. I wanted it to be a longer story. Yep. It reminded me of a couple of things, because I've been watching a lot of documentaries recently, and there was obviously the one there's like Ruby Ridge was one, which was a hostage situation that went like awfully, and that's probably worth watching as well. If very. I don't know. It's got like flawed government reactions to situations, and it's just really, really poor overall from the kind of military and the kind of that kind of side of things. But it just had that kind of feel to it. But also it had. I saw this one documentary called Foxcatcher, or a film called Foxcatcher about the killing of the wrestler who by that crazy millionaire guy. And again, like, because of the snow and all that kind of stuff, it just had a feel of that. And then also Waco, like that kind of hostage situation at Waco. So all of these like things, all these different things that were happening, like kind of feed into what I'm seeing visually on this issue.
Cool.
And therefore I want it to be bigger. I want it to be like a 6-parter or something. But at the same time, freaking brilliant. And an 8 out of 10 is a solid number.
Yeah, definitely. Right, moving on, issue 23. This is called Scoop. On the cover, you have got Stalker in the foreground. They're lining the grass. In the background, you've got Tunnel Rat, and you have got Scoop, who is a new Joe. Yeah,
really awesome cover. I love this one. Kind of how they've got the light creating shadows through the grass on Stalker's face and Tunnel Rat's face. I really like that. And obviously, again, 3 really cool characters here. And the introduction of Scoop as well, which is neat.
Yes, yep. I mean, this is a fairly standardish story arc from a high-level point of view. The Joes are going into Sierra Gordo to try and capture El Jefe, who was part of... I think he was during that North American banana monopoly storyline in Real American Hero.
It's
around the
so
sort of
hard to keep track of
69, 70, around that.
Yeah, it's so hard to keep track of the peripheral characters, I find, in the Joe universe.
But effectively, this is all about the Joes going in with a newbie, Scoop. So who have you got? You've got Hit and Run, again, Leatherneck, Muskrat, Stalker, Tunnel Rat, plus Scoop. And they're going in to try and capture El Jefe, and it just revolves around Scoop being the new guy on the team, and a little bit of hazing and a little bit of getting up to speed. Is he right for the team, etc. And it just all plays around that kind of central theme.
I know there's a lot of kind of like they really play on his naivety and the fact that, you know, he's kind of he thinks he's, you know, ready for this kind of stuff, or not that he thinks he's ready, but he's like trained. He thinks he's trained for it. And when he gets there, he just learns all of these new things that are like, oh, yeah, you know, this is what it's actually like to be in combat, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to pick out some... I really, really like this issue. I'm going to pick out some cool bits I really like. So from the get-go, you know, on their way to the mission, he's kind of accosted by Leatherneck to start with, and Leatherneck's kind of holding up to this portrayal of this sort of kind of grumpy, part angry, doesn't really care for freeloaders or people who aren't up to scratch kind of characterization. And, you know, he grabs him, and then Muskrat's giving him a bit of how-to, and then Hit and Run's talking about loading each bullet manually, and then Tunnel Rat's talking about strapping on his gun, and then Stalker's talking about carrying his compass and his maps in certain pockets.
So that they can, when he dies, they can raid him and know where all the important stuff is. Yeah, there's a lot of morbid stuff in it, actually, isn't there? Yeah,
but I love all that bit at the beginning. I was kind of thinking throughout, they do mention it. Stalker here mentions down at the bottom of them all giving him all these instructions, you had to be some kind of tough to make it through the course, but all that proves is that you can take it. Out in the field, we find out if you can dish it out.
Yeah.
So obviously Scoop has gone through not only basic army training, but he's gone through the G.I. Joe training as well.
Yeah.
So characters like him and Tripwire and Wildcard and all these other guys who are a bit clownish on the outside, we've got to remember that they've gone through all the training. So when push comes to shove, you know, they're the real deal.
Yeah.
However, in the field here, he still comes across as very naive and a bit of a goon, and it kind of makes you wonder, how did he get through that training?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is with Scoop is he's going in there just to take footage, but then they're like, well, no, you're going to carry Tunnel Rat's ammo, and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. So I think like he is probably trained for one thing, but then is being like dragged into doing other things that he wasn't necessarily expecting. But at the same time, I agree. There's always this fine line with the G.I. Joe comics as to how much do you push the personalities, when in reality these guys would be all friggin' hard as nails soldiers. They'd all be they'd all be proficient with multiple different weapons in multiple different situations. They'd be fit. They would be strong. They would be all of those things that you would need in a basic soldier, like infantry. They would all be that, and then this extra level. So it's all about like how do you kind of say, okay, well, this is the best of the best in terms of the soldiers, of the army, of the air force, etc., etc. But how much do we push those personalities? And the problem is, you have to push the personalities. You have to exaggerate it, because otherwise you don't get that character development. You don't get what we love about G.I. Joe. And it's so difficult to kind of keep it grounded because of all this other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise it just ends up as a potentially blandish military story.
Exactly. They'll all be exactly the same, and they just have a few different extra specialties. You know what I mean?
They push Scoop's character pretty hard here. I mean, after he's got that grilling on the way to the combat zone, then out in the actual field, you know, he's glugging down a water bottle, and they tell him, you got to drink the whole thing, otherwise it's going to slosh around.
Yeah. And
then at night, he's got his camera out. The lens is reflecting, build some kind of cardboard and tape reflector kind of thing. Then he falls asleep. But this is all really good stuff. And then loads of Stalker, basically, and Stalker's all on noise discipline and hand signals and stuff. You know, and then he tells them about setting up this little ambush.
Again, lots of good tactics in this, lots of good strategy.
Yeah, loads of good strategy and tactics. And then there's a real good turning point where, you know, they've scoped out the line, and your man Scoop has suddenly fallen asleep, and then you literally turn the next page, and all of a sudden it's like someone out of Platoon. You know, just a firefights going off, and a ton of rats deep in it, and Scoop's going, what's going on? And there's just literally warfare everywhere.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it just absolutely explodes, and then you've got Scoop getting his helmet elbowed off by tunnel rat. He's like, feed me. And then I like the fact that it's still at night, but like all of the colour they use for all the backgrounds and everything is like lit up with like different colours, like reds and blues and all sorts, just to kind of make it, you know, show off that there's like gunfire and explosions and everything. It's really cool. And
then out of the blue, which was another great little twist, they're up against Iron Grenadiers.
I know, yeah.
And the way that these guys are drawn is amazing, because they're not just in kind of, you know, standardish uniforms.
Yeah.
You know, they got face painted headbands, you know, kind of floppy hats, whatever, and, you know, different kind of webbing and stuff. It's brilliant.
It's almost like this is one of those things where I feel like they're not necessarily like official Iron Grenadiers or Iron Grenadiers that have been through the ranks through actual Destro or something. It feels like they've been given Iron Grenadier gear. Do you know what I mean? Like they've been provided with weapons and equipment and vehicles by the Iron Grenadiers, by Destro, and this is like a local kind of army or something. You know
However,
what I mean?
I'm going to challenge that, because I know you don't have page numbers, but on page 25, page previously, I think is it Hit and Run's just been shot in the kneecap.
Yeah.
Stalker's trying to get him out of there, and then a couple of the Iron Grenadiers are shouting, Destro!
Well, no, I'm not saying... What I mean is I think they're not like your... You know how like in... it's hard to explain, but I feel like I'm not saying they're not Iron Grenadiers. I'm saying they're not like your seasoned, regular... Like, you know, like the from Scotland... like the original army. I feel like this is like them. They've been given the training and and all that kind of stuff by Destro and they are taken from this particular country. They're Sierra Gordons, or they're like from around that area. If you know what I mean. So it's like that's why it's a little bit less. Because I mean, if Destro was there with them, if he was there and everyone was around and everything, I would expect he would be far more up on standards with how they dress and how they, you know, present themselves.
Yes. You do get a bit here, you know, in the closing section, because obviously Scoop's been there just to take the footage, but I think they needed to have a bit of him kind of showing his Joe fighting prowess. Not fighting prowess, because he's probably not that good at fighting, but he obviously does get some licks in. An Iron Grenadier comes at him. Tunnel Rat's been, you know, shot and knocked out, unconscious, and he has a one-on-one, and he ends up using his actual camera. It's a wonk this guy on the head.
Could have been worse.
yeah.
Like that Captain America meme that went around for ages from that panel in the comic. It's like he's throwing his shield and it says
right
when it hits the
Nice. But yeah, so he does get a few licks in, so to speak, and wakes up in the chopper. Everyone's still alive. He gets a thumbs up from Stalker, which is surely everyone's goal in life. And the mission, this is again, we spoke about this a few times back, where a lot of the special missions don't go G.I. Joe's way, and here again they weren't able to capture El Jefe. And even saying that, we didn't even get a sight of him. He didn't even appear in the comic. We're led, from the beginning, this is the mission to capture him, but they don't even get that far. And I think that's really clever.
Again,
they don't even need to. They didn't even need to do it. They just showed these guys in country, bit of a firefight, and then extraction. But this is a very high 8 for me. This could be one of my favourite special missions yet.
I agree. I think it's another high 8. I think I like it just as much as I did the previous issue. And yeah, I think it's an absolute stonker. And again, shows great strategy, great thought on the battlefield. And it's not just your standard issue, right, here's the ambush point, let's wait, and then they turn up and then bang. It's here's a good ambush point, but they're going to be expecting that because it's a good ambush point. So let's go elsewhere. And it's just wow. I mean, just something like that, which is an extra couple of pages as well to expand on and to talk about. It's just that's just awesome writing. I think it's just it's not your usual. I mean, they could have easily simplified this whole story by taking that part of it out, and it would have made it a lesser issue. Yeah.
So just you've given both these 8. So just for my personal benefit, if you've got to read one issue before you're going out to dinner, are you going to read issue 22 or 23?
Well, I'm probably going to go with 23, and I'll tell you why. I love for one, this is a really cool issue anyway, great issue, and it introduces Scoop and so on and so forth. And I did like Scoop as a figure. I thought it was an amazing toy. But the real reason is the nostalgia hit, because I had this issue, this comic, coverless, when I was younger. I think one of my mates, I got it off one of my friends who just was giving a lot of his stuff away, he didn't want it anymore. And I probably would have been around about 9 or 10, maybe 11 at the time. I think it probably would have been more 11. And the cover was missing. He'd obviously ripped it off or something along the line. So I only had the interior of the comic, and I didn't again, no context. So that was the only G.I. Joe issue I had as a kid. So
cool.
that's there you go.
Good stuff. Moving on, issue 24, Ladies' Day. The cover here, and this is pretty much an exact panel from the interior. It's Jinx flying kicking Cobra Commander. Well, Fred 7. I
would say, though, that this is not a overall depiction as to what is going on in the issue. Yes, this happens in the issue, and that I shouldn't be angry at that. But if you were to say, you remember the story Ladies' Day, pick out the cover, I probably wouldn't be able to, based on that. Do you know what I mean? It's just... Yep. And this is a weird issue.
Well, the first thing to note here is Larry Hama did not write this one. This is written by regular penciler Herb Trimpe. So he is now picking up the writing chores. And Dave Cockrum is back on pencils. We saw him on issue 22. It is Danny Bolandi inking, Phil Felix letters, Neil Yomtov colours. This is balls out action. I mean, I'm not sure I'm fully on board. I think I do like it, but I like sure.
It in a weird way. I don't hate it, but there's certain aspects of it that just really make my eyes roll a little bit sometimes.
But I think this is probably the most action-packed issue of G.I. Joe I've read so far.
It probably is,
but not necessarily in a good way. There's almost too much going on.
Yeah. So obviously they're at the New York Mites Stadium, who are playing the New York Dandies, and that's obviously a riff on the Yankees and the Mets. Yep. They've even got the same logos, which I think is quite funny. They obviously didn't get a cease and desist from the baseball franchises.
They're here to guard the president, aren't they? They're doing bodyguard work for the president. And, of course, Cobra turns up to spoil the party in a kidnap attempt.
A couple of things I want to point out here. One is Dave Cockrum, as you mentioned, is on pencils again. But I feel like there's a couple of moments in the art where I'm a little bit head-scratchy. Because, again, I loved his art in the previous issue he did. But some of the eyes are a little dodgy on some of the faces. There's a panel of Falcon and Tunnel Rat on the same page.
Yep.
And... their eyes are kind of all over the place. They look like the Toxic Crusader. They look like the Sloth from the Goonies.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, on that same page, we've got his depiction of an Ore Striker, which is a little bit clunky. It looks a little bit weird. And also, we see a part of the Mean Dog behind Falcon and Duke. I think it's Duke. Is it Hawk or Duke?
Don't know. I'm saying Hawk. Yeah, top panel mentions Hawk.
Yeah, sorry, it is Hawk, isn't it? Apologies. On the lower panel, you've got Zap kind of, calling in as they're all going through their roll call. And there's a Cobra Stinger behind him. And that really confuses me. And then I thought, I wonder if that was supposed to be a Tiger Sting.
Maybe, yeah, probably. And it's just been coloured incorrectly.
And they just coloured it in. Yeah, but the other thing I have to mention about that is the Tiger Sting doesn't have that missile arraignment on the back of it. It has like the Snowcats missile thing on it, kind of re-engineered slightly. Yeah. So yeah, just to be a bit of a nerd about that.
I mean, I like the Zap bit. Maybe Trimpe liked Zap because Zap actually says, "I'm with you, Falcon, and it's great to be back in action."
Yeah,
because we haven't seen this poor for I don't know how long.
Probably since the first issue.
Yeah. And you also get here, the bad guys on the scene. We got Cobra Commander and Raptor. I'm going to keep saying Cobra Commander, even though we know it's Fred 7. But Cobra Commander's, he's like, oh, this will get me, when I kidnap the president, it'll get me more respect from Mindbender and Destro and Baroness. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't care, doesn't give two shakes of a dog's dangly if he gets Mindbender's respect. But I don't know, does he? I don't know. It just his motivation seems strange.
Yeah, it's almost like so forced to include him. I feel like.
And is this the first introduction of Crystal Ball?
Possibly.
I think it is, and I don't know if he even features again in the main comic. This might be I could probably look this up now, but I'm not going to bother. But I'm pretty sure he has had 1 or 2 appearances total. Yeah. I think he does appear in the IDW stuff. I'm talking about the Marvel stuff.
I know, yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
Again, this was just shoehorning in the toy, I guess. But he is a hypnotist by trade?
Yeah, Cobra hypnotist. Okay. This feels like, they've forced him in this issue. I've got a feeling Larry was like, I'm not doing an issue with Crystal Ball and Raptor. I draw the line, possibly, because... they're a little too far out, I think, for Larry's kind of writing style. But something I've got to mention just prior to our viewpoint of Crystal, or our kind of appearance of Crystal Ball, is the fact that there's a panel at the bottom of one of the pages where it's like meanwhile outside, and you've got a picture of Cutter with his Boston Red Sox hat on, right?
Oh, and they calls him heavy metal.
He calls him heavy metal, and not just that, but I love the thought that he's obviously clearly talking to Cutter, because he talks about the fact that. It helps to have a team to root for. Because he's having a go at the fact that Cutter is a Boston fan. So it's it's interesting to fit it in, and then to make the mistake of calling him heavy metal just kind of ruins that whole thing for me. But anyway,
I quite like this panel here. Basically, it's quite a lot of heavy hitters here from the bad guys' side, because you've got Zorana is somehow in the stadium.
Yeah.
Firefly is disguised as a hot dog vendor, and there's that panel where they've released the gas from Raptor's birds, and then Firefly's jumped over a barrier and he's launching some hot dogs which have got explosives in them, I think, and it looks literally like a panel of effectively Gambit throwing some charged up playing cards, but they just happen to be some
playing sausages instead,
some foot long explosive sausages. Amazing.
It's great. And I must admit, I do like how they deco Firefly in this comic. I know it's probably like an incorrect colouring scenario, but I quite like that light green and light brown kind of colour they give him, which is weird for Firefly.
The villains are very kind of old school. I'm talking like, sort of 70s, 80s old school villains, because they're up in there. They're in an airship now. They've basically taken off, and they're all three of them at the bottom of one panel just laughing. Look at them down there, like bugs on a rug. Ha 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 ha. Crystal Ball. Ha 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 ha. Raptor. Ha ha. Yes, yes.
He loves saying yes at the end. It's almost like he's Russian. Isn't it, like the way they've written him in this? It's weird.
And they've kidnapped the president, and they're all up there, and it's just very old schoolish. And then, of course, the female Joes, so this is Ladies' Day, obviously. We've got Scarlet Jinx, Lady J, CoverGirl, and they basically have clambered onto this airship, and then we get a big throwdown between the Cobra head honchos and the Joes. Actually, Hardball gets it. You like Hardball. He gets there's a strange bit at the end where...
Yes, another strange part of this issue.
CoverGirl picks up a bat and gets Hardball to launch a smoke grenade at her, high and hard, and around the letters, and she basically thunks it up into the air through the airship's window. Oh no, Lady J's hanging into Lady J's hand, who then chucks it into the airship and smokes out the bad guys.
I have to comment on that brilliant line. Darren Blueberry, eat your heart out. Obviously, the Daryl Strawberry. Exactly, yeah. Who made an amazing appearance in that Simpsons episode.
Yeah,
of
where
the
he's crying
softball.
in the outfield.
Oh my God. That is...
Daryl.
You stink, Strawberry! We want home run homer! Daryl!
Children, that's not very nice.
Mom, they're professional athletes. They're used to this sort of thing. It rolls right off their backs.
That's
actually my favourite
episode of Simpsons ever. Agreed. That is an absolute... They're playing softball from Maine to San Diego. Oh my God, that is the best episode. Anyway.
When Mr. Burns had done it, the power play
won it.
Yeah. I'm actually going to go and watch the episode after this, after we record this.
We're talking softball, Ozzy and the Straw. Oh my God, I'm so going to be putting all of that together in this episode.
Brilliant.
Oh my God.
But yeah, then the bad guys somehow, they jettison part of their airship, and then they say, I can promise you this, I don't care where they go, from the jungles of South America to the frozen plains of the Arctic, we will be there. And we will thwart them, to harass them and battle them every inch of the way. They will never be finished with us. Long live Cobra!
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you can tell it's a different writer, in a sense, can't you? Because there's a lot more extravagant villain talk in this one.
Yeah. I think I'm going to yo-jo this one. I don't know. I'm tempted to give it a low 7, just on the basis of the silliness. Some of the silliness raises it up for me. In fact, I'm going to do it. I'm giving it a 7. I toyed with a 6.
I actually toyed when I first read this issue many moons ago. I was kind of like, oh, I'm not really feeling this. But in like retrospect and reading it, probably meant 16 or 17 more times since. I do have an appreciation for it in an odd way. Part of G.I. Joe is ridiculous, and there are certain things in here that are just ultimately the most ridiculously far-fetched crap ever. But you're dealing with Raptor, you're dealing with friggin' Crystal Ball. It's going to be far-fetched. It's going to be mental and crazy. So yep. I'm also gonna. I think it's fun. It's out there. I'm just going to give it a 6.
Okay.
A high 6, though.
High 6. Right, moving on to the last issue this week. This is G.I. Joe Special Missions 25. And you'll be pleased with this cover because here we do have a Tiger Sting, and it does, in fact, have the correct rear missile rack. Although we're incorrectly led to believe that the G.I. Joe team have time travelled back to the Jurassic period because there's a pterodactyl on the cover.
I do love this cover for many reasons. For one, I, again, didn't have this issue as a kid, but I did have...
This is Andy Kubert, by the way, on cover.
Yeah. I did have the reprinted version of this particular issue that came in the annual, the Tiger Force annual that came out in the UK. So I knew the story, I just never saw the cover. And I remember looking for this particular story for the cover of it and going past this cover about 60 times, going, Which one was it? I can't find any Tiger Force anywhere. And it's so subtle that there's a tiny, you can just about make out that it's a Tiger Force Tiger Sting. And obviously the pterodactyl didn't give it away.
No.
Now, again, this actually kind of sort of happens in the issue. Yep. The pterodactyl is actually in a natural history museum, and it crashes just beside them. So it's slightly different as to what we were led to believe here. And also Ripcord and Duke, who are in the Tiger Sting, Ripcord isn't wearing his helmet in the interiors. So just to be really picky and annoying.
I wonder how much kind of info Andy Kubert was given about this cover, because it
quite
clearly,
a lot by the looks of things.
I mean, do you think he was briefed that this is in a museum? It is an inanimate pterodactyl, or do you think he was just said there's a pterodactyl and it's falling on a tiger sting? Don't know. Anyway,
well, I'm going to say museum because he has added a cord or almost like a cable that connects the pterodactyl
I see it.
to the ceiling, but it's very subtle.
So interiors, here we got Larry Hama is back writing, Herb Trimpe's back on pencils, Danny Bolundi's on inks, Phil Felix letters, Neil Yomtov colours. I'm going to let you do the summary on this one because I got quite confused.
No worries. Okay, so what we have here is a Tiger Force story, and it's the only Tiger Force story that we see in G.I. Joe Marvel run, with the exception of a few sightings of a couple of vehicles in other issues dotted around. This is the only Tiger Force viewing you'll get with these particular characters in their Tiger Force garb, which I find quite funny, because I'll talk a little bit later about, spoiler alert, about Tiger Force and what the whole point of it was, and the fact that, you know, the point of it is this makes this story very odd for them to be included in. Now, basically, the Lower Darklonian Separatist Front, or the LDSF, have...
LSDF.
Well, it's the LDSF, but they get the letters wrong on the poster, which I was going to get to. Yeah. So I'm not sure if that's one of those things where, you know how like in different languages they rearrange, obviously it's said in a different way and it's spelt a different way and it's probably in a different format. I'm hoping it's got something to do with that, and it's not just that they got the letters the wrong way around on the poster, but effectively it's written in English above freedom or death, so it probably is they got it wrong. Now, some of the LSDF, or the LDSF I should say, the LDSF are in this warehouse. They've been surrounded by CIA, and we've got the usual kind of crew, of CIA guys. Tiger Force turn up in the Tiger Cat, Tiger Sting, and Tiger Paw, with a team consisting of Duke, Dusty, Lifeline, Recondo, and Ripcord. And Ripcord, who isn't a Tiger Force member, it will become clear when I talk toys earlier on why he was included.
Later on.
Or why I think he was included. Yeah, much later on. So, obviously, you see again, like, the clash between Duke, G.I. Joe, and, the government forces here. Always they seem to be getting on each other's and in this case, we have a guy called Skip Benson Barr, and they jokingly say Benson Bar, I think, through most of it, because they just like to take the out of each other. They're basically around this warehouse. One of the LDSF gets on the roof, strapped with explosives, and blows himself up, which creates a gap for the other guys to get through and get away. Now, the whole point of this issue is that the CIA want G.I. Joe to do their dirty work for them. The CIA have got links with Darklon and Darklonia.
The lower Darklonians have got a beef with the upper Darklonians.
Yes.
And didn't Darklon supply the lower Darklonians with the weapons? Because he wants them 100%. to be caught on US soil perpetrating these terrorist activities, so that the US/G.I. Joe have to mop them up rather than he has to mop them up.
Yes. The thing is, they're also in league with the CIA.
Yeah.
So that's what the whole kind of complex mess is. And the CIA obviously want G.I. Joe to deal with it as well, because obviously they're in league with Darklon and Darklonia and etc., etc. So the Joe Force give chase with the guys on the bikes, but some of them get away. One of them doesn't. Lifeline takes him out, jumping off the Tiger Paw, taking the guy off the bike, and then they get into this fight. And what I find really funny about this fight is that Lifeline does this really awkward low kick to what looks like his or stomach, and then that knocks him out somehow. So I find that really hilarious. Yeah. But anyway, he's captured. That then switches us over to Manhattan, where we have another team of Joes working together, which is Jinx, Stalker, and Lightfoot returns, not in his gear, in his robot again. Again, we don't get his robot. We just get Lightfoot in his civvies. And they're basically like following the ambassador for Darklonia.
He's got a bomb and he's going to blow up a school or something?
Yes. So effectively, he goes into the Darklonian embassy, so they can't follow him anymore. He's got a briefcase, which kind of raises alarms, and they're kind of like, what could that be?
Yep.
In any case, as the Tiger Force are back talking with this Benson Barr guy, he's like saying it's national policy of Darklonia to foster interest and unrest and terror. It helps their thriving armaments business. He says, even so, why would Darklonia give explosives to a terrorist faction that wants to secede from Darklonia? It doesn't make sense. And he says Darklon is simply forcing us to do his dirty work for him. So this is where we find out what is going on. Yep. They're actually reporting to the CIA about this ambassador is at the Darklon embassy, and he says that's right. As such, he has diplomatic immunity. he can park his Mercedes wherever he pleases, abuse his kids, and even commit murder. The worst that can happen is that he gets a free plane trip home. DOA is quite a dossier on Peteman, which is his name.
Yep.
He's an agent provocateur who has been known to pass out weapons and explosives like party favours. So that's why they're kind of trailing him. By supplying LDSF, and that they've got the letters the right way round now, terrorists right here in America, and tempting them to go after targets on American soil, the Joes and the DOA will have to deal with them. So they go undercover, they try and get this guy, and then this is where they trace him, or they trace this Peteman guy to this school, which is actually like they're thinking, okay, well, there's a safe house next door, which is like, you know, oh, it's next to a school, but it's more like foreshadowing at that point. It's like that's pretty dangerous. Anyway, the Joes roll out their Tiger Force crew again. They're gonna give chase to the terrorists that left the safe house.
What do you think of the Tiger Force being very brightly yellow here?
Well, this is what makes me kind of confused, because they're actually originally they were planned to be used as Jungle Force, kind of a Jungle Force team, and so it's weird that they're used for this mission. But again, it's I think Larry just kind of squeezing them in as he can, and probably getting them like a one and done story and out of the way. So then obviously you've got all the guys giving chase. The terrorists go into the Natural History Museum.
Oh, this is the bit where your man shoots the pterodactyl down. Yeah,
so two of them give chase in the sting and the paw. Lifeline picking up explosives that they're dropping on the back of the paw, and Duke and Ripcord are kind of chasing the guys in the Jeep who are firing at them. They return fire, but then obviously the pterodactyl gets shot down and nearly takes them out. Meanwhile, Dusty and Lifeline whip out onto the ferret out into the park and go and lob the explosives in the water, and they blow up, not hurting anybody. And then as the terrorists exit via a window in the Natural History Museum, they end up crashing into the side of the Tiger Cat, which has been driven by Recondo. So he stops them. Anyway, Duke notices that Benson Barr has got he's called ahead and got like a news team there to report on the incident, and he's really off and he's getting angry with him. And he's like, "Did you tell them? You know, this is what's going to happen? Did you make a deal with Peteman and all this kind of stuff?" And he's like, he doesn't swear. He said, "Innocent people could die, and you've literally helped a terrorist in doing what they're about to do." So the undercover team notice that Peteman is, you know, gonna make his play. So they basically jump in. In fact, Lightfoot's the one that realizes he's going to blow place up. Like, you know, that we need to sort this out now. So they go in. Jinx takes him out. They realize they can't stop the timer on the explosive, which is Lightfoot's specialty. So he's useless now at this stage. And they say, "Well, I've got an idea. We've got plenty of time to get rid of it into a safe place. But how about we do this instead?" And this is kind of like a little bit. I did find this quite dark from the G.I. Joe team, and I'm hoping that in actual fact Lightfoot has managed to stop it or has taken the explosive out.
Yeah, because they just leave him there.
But we never find out. So they come into the top, like into the top office of the CIA, of Benson Barr's office, and they literally come in. They slam the door, because by slamming the door it messes the lock up, which was again foreshadowed earlier in the issue. And then like they put the explosive in Peteman's briefcase and lock it so that they can't do anything about it. They can't like get rid of it now. They're stuck with it in the room. And Stalker says, sorry, it was the DOA, not the CIA. I've been saying CIA all the whole time, but it's actually the DOA. He says, "Dusty, you might want to get away from that window because they might want to throw something out of there real soon." So that you're led to believe that Benson Barr is forced to throw Peteman out of a window with seconds remaining on an explosion for it to blow up and possibly injure, kill, and make a lot of other, you know, dangerous, I don't know, collateral. So what I personally think is that it was all a threat. It was all like a facade, and that they have managed to deal with the explosive and give them a dummy. That's what I think. Even though that is not explained, I would imagine that G.I. Joe would not do something so reckless.
Okay. I was looking for a 30-second high-level recap. Chris has given us a page-by-page recount No, that's good.
It's the only way you can do it though, because you're right. It's so complex, this one, that you do miss stuff, and it's like, well, it's a bit nuanced as well. It's all very much like, oh, they're doing a deal with these guys and he's doing a deal with those guys, but you don't know what necessarily it is and how it connects and why that's the thing. And it's very loose in that sense, definitely.
Wait, you a fan of this one? I thought the art was, fairly good throughout. Story, it didn't really engage me, I don't think. It's not bad at all, perfectly serviceable, but I just never felt that into it. I know you like Tiger Force as well.
I have the nostalgia for it because it was in the annual. I love Tiger Force, but yeah, it had the nostalgia for me because it was in the annual. It is hard to follow, especially when you don't know the ins and outs of all these different things clearly. You have to do some really careful reading on each different thing about well, what does this mean and what does that mean, and yeah, it can get a little bit it just feels loose to me in a lot of ways, and I don't like the ending because I feel like that is such a dangerous thing to do. They wouldn't advocate killing somebody. They would never do that. So I'm led to believe that they take the explosive and they do get it a distance away, and this is just a thing that scares scare them. That's what I think it is, and it's to scare Benson Barr into doing something dangerous, to do something extreme like that, only to then go, oh, we're only joking, but you've just given the game away and you're going to be arrested for it. That's what I think is actually what happens or what would happen.
Yeah. Overall, I'm giving this 6 Yojo Colas. Seems low, but that's what I'm giving it.
I'm going to give it 6.2. Not even Tiger Force can bring it up for some of the confusing aspects of it. But yeah, I'll give it a high 6.
Well, you've kind of spoiled us already about what we're going to be leading into now, because it is in fact time for Chris Talks Toys.
Chris Talks Toys. Dun, dun, dun. Basically for this one, I'm looking at the unproduced Tiger Force, but to give you a little bit of background initially, let's delve into 1988. I'm only going to be talking US here, and we might cover the UK Tiger Force at another time, but honestly it would get so in-depth to talk about everything that it gets a little bit confusing. So we'll stick to the 1988 US release. So Hasbro released a new sub-team in the US called Tiger Force. The premise was that this team were going to be highly skilled, a specialist unit, called up for a secret and highly dangerous mission in the jungle. Cobra had set up a network of power bases that would simultaneously attack cities around the globe, and Tiger Force were created to stop them. That was the premise for the toys.
We'll stop Cobra with Tiger Force, the roughest, toughest jump force ever. Get those captured Cobra vehicles repainted and re-armed. They're part of Tiger Force now. Tiger Force, showing the colors yellow and black. Hungry to fight and ready to attack. Nobody makes G.I. Joe.
Tiger Shark is ready. So is the Tiger Cat. Tiger Force, attack.
Nobody makes G.I. Joe. Tiger Force. Tiger Force. Vehicles and figures sold separately.
The 88 lineup consisted of single-carded repaints of Bazooka, Duke, Dusty, Flint, Lifeline, Roadblock, and Tripwire. We also had additional vehicles and drivers, including the Tiger Cat with Frostbite, the Tiger Fly with Recondo, and the Tiger Rat with Sky Striker. And also we got the Tiger Paw and the Tiger Shark, which were just standalone additions. And the following year, we saw additions to the Motor Pool with the Tiger Fish, which was a repainted Devilfish, and a Tiger Sting, which is the repainted Stinger. Now, interestingly enough, originally they planned on having Wild Bill with the Tiger Fly, but they decided against that, and instead of the Wild Bill that did show up in some product catalogues early on, that they were going to just do Recondo, who also showed up in some catalogues on the Tiger Paw in a different deco. And the club have since done that different deco for a modern release, which is quite cool. But the Recondo that we did get came with the Tiger Fly, and in the UK, just briefly, we actually called him Wild Bill. So it's Recondo as he was in the US, but we called him Wild Bill on the card. So that's just a nice bit of additional extra there. Now, the unproduced aspect comes when we see a bear with me, and this they would have been in 1988, but when we find a collector's guide that was available via mail order from Hasbro Direct in 1993. And it featured an image showing a bunch of the different kind of Tiger Force figures of the time and a few that didn't make it, including Ripcord in Tiger Force Deco, Wild Bill, and Sabretooth. Sabretooth was a repaint of Firefly. We also saw, the Wild Bill's a really difficult one to really see, but you can see him through the cockpit of the Tiger Fly. And Ripcord's really clear. You can see like what his deco was going to look like. He was basically going to have kind of like light brown trousers, black shoes, and then like a dark green upper with a yellow and black striped helmet, like tiger striped helmet. So very similar, very reminiscent of Roadblock's helmet that he got for the Tiger Force. Now, and that Ripcord looked really cool. He had all his gear still, like the oxygen mask, the secondary that he wears over the top, which is kind of like a parachute pack, and his amazing rifle with huge scope on it. So I think that would have been a pretty cool release, honestly. Sabretooth is a repainted Firefly and would obviously have been a good guy. And the reason given for those particular figures not being released was because the figures were temporarily licensed for use in foreign countries. And they think that because that happened, they abandoned using those particular figures for the Tiger Force repaints because of that license, because the tooling went out to, whoever it was that released them elsewhere, maybe Fun School India, maybe actually at the time it probably would have been South America, like Estrella and Plastorama and all those kind of companies. So it's interesting to see these figures that didn't make it. And also we do get an image, and this is an even more obscure one, of Torpedo that never got released, who in the Tiger Shark, which was a repainted water moccasin, and because he's in that little section like the driver's seat, and in like you can only see the top of his head and a little bit of the chest, it's very, very difficult to make out, but it's definitely Torpedo, painted in what would be a Tiger Force deco. And there have been like customs that have been done since that, paint him as they expected he might have looked, and they look really, really cool actually. And I'll add those to the images to show you those as well. But yeah, effectively we missed out on some pretty cool Tiger Force releases in 1988 and yep, I suppose in 1989 too. So yeah, that is the unreleased 1988 Tiger Force stuff. And like I said, I won't go into the depth of Tiger Force stuff that we got in the UK and all the other unreleased stuff that hasn't been brought out. But for the most part, that covers this particular Chris Talks Toys segment this week.
Really good. Enjoyed that. A lot of stuff, pretty much all of that I didn't know. So yeah, really like it.
Oh, I forgot to mention, I do want to mention the tagline that was on the boxes for the Joe toys, for the Tiger Force toys as well, because this is something that kind of explains why they've got Cobra stuff. So basically it just says, and I'll just quickly say, Tiger Force uses captured Cobra vehicles and re-outfitted G.I. Joe weapons to battle the forces of evil. Each vehicle is specially modified and camouflaged for perilous assaults behind enemy lines. Now, is it really camouflaged for that kind of stuff?
Well, no.
But anyway, it makes sense when they say jungle operations, but then other than that, it's no point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Good stuff. That leads us nicely into a segment we call British Colloquialisms, aka over-egging the pudding.
We got a pudding, we're gonna egg it. We got a pudding, we're gonna over-egg it. We got a pudding, we got no criticisms. That means it's time for some British colloquialism.
This week I am going to be using a saying or recounting a saying that I actually used myself about an hour ago as I was reading one of these issues, and it was issue 23, the one where they're scoops out in the jungle and all that. And as I was reading it, I was so into it and I thought it was so good that I actually said, "Man, this is the dog's box." Now, I don't know if box is considered a swear word or not. I honestly don't know, but another version would be the dog's danglies, I guess. And I don't know if this is even a phrase outside of the UK. It may well be, and it might. I think it's definitely a British saying, but it may well be known elsewhere. But it basically
really
means really good. This is top notch.
Box is one that the Americans struggle with pronouncing, let alone blooming understanding. They know what it means now, I think, but
there's no X. I think a lot of Americans think there's an X on it. It's BOLLOCKS.
Correct, and it's box. It's box. And they're like bullocks and bollocks, and it's no, just say box for sake. Like, it's not difficult.
Yeah. But this is where the interesting and slightly confusing part of the saying comes from, because if you say something is box, bollocks, it generally means it's not good.
Yeah.
But if you say something is the
dog's
bollocks,
yeah,
that is a 180, and that means hey up, that's amazing.
I don't understand why dogs' bollocks are good. I mean, it's gross. I don't know. Anyway,
but there you go. That's my one. What have you got for us, sir?
Well, I've got a few popped up, so I'm going to have to save one for next week as well. But
yes, I like it.
I've this is a low level one, and I think it's one that the Americans again have like understood over time and probably do know what I'm saying when I say it now. But the odd one will slip through, and it's the term knackered. The term knackered to mean tired.
With a K.
Yeah, tired or exhausted. That's KNACKERED. Knackered. And effectively, for us, it means to have one's knackers removed or to be, absolutely knackered. Again, just means tired or exhausted. So, again, the Americans, I think, have caught onto that one now. But the other one is even funnier, and that's just a term that I used for somebody the other day, and everyone looked at me like, a what? So you'll get that next week.
Excellent. Shall look forward to that. We're going to close out the show, as always, with a little something we call
Chief Ask Chris a question. Chief Ask Chris a question. What'll he say? What'll he do when Chief asks Chris a question?
So in my, when I was a kid growing up, I was a big fan of Michael Jackson, and actually went to see him in concert at Wembley. And I still actually do, the man aside, I still do enjoy listening to his music. And I actually popped on a little bit of Michael Jackson this morning. Now my question to you is, he says it a lot. I don't know if he invented it or not, but what the hell does Shimon? What does that mean? He says it a lot, doesn't he? Shimon.
I actually do know what this means.
Oh right, okay.
Are you ready for some are you ready to have your mind blown?
Yeah, I didn't know it was a thing. I thought he was just making up noise.
No,
but
well, the first ever use comes from one of my favourite Jackson songs, which is Bad. Yep. And he first used it in that, like 87, 88, 80, yeah, I think it was 87.
It was 87, yep.
Because I remember being like really young at the time. But basically, it was a deliberate mispronunciation of the term or the phrase "come on."
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Shimon, come on. Because basically, he does say...
Please tell me you've got one glove on and you're doing a moonwalk right now.
Yeah, I have, and I'm touching loads of kids. Oh,
excellent. No, not excellent.
I've ruined it. Sorry, no. But yeah, so there you go. There's my explanation as to what Shimon means.
Excellent, brilliant. As always, Chris comes up trumps.
You just had your mind Shimoned.
I did. I'm going to just Shimon. Every time I say a sentence for the rest of the day, I'm going to end it with Shimon.
And
just freak people out. Yes, so good show, as always. Next week we will be covering, I think we've got Special Missions 26, 27, 28, and Real American Hero 92. Now we're going to slot that Real American Hero 92 just behind Special Missions 26, because that's a little two-parter, and then we'll close out with Special Missions 27, 28. That will actually finish the run of Special Missions, and then after that we'll be back onto just pure, unadulterated Real American Hero straight into your veins. So if you want to do your homework, that's the issues you need to read ahead of next week. If you want to get in touch with us, you can do so in all the usual places. Talking_Joe on Twitter, Talking Joe Comics on Instagram, talkingjoecomics@gmail.com, and Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast on the face of the book. If the fine people want to get hold of you, where can they do that, sir?
I am Diagnostic80. That's DIAGNOSTIK80 on most things, on Instagram, on all sorts of different Twitter. But then also, if you want the Full Force podcast, you can find us pretty much everywhere on Facebook, Twitter, Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. Go nuts, listen, enjoy, comment, share, hate.
Yeah, all that stuff. Apart from the hate, love, baby, love. If you want to rate and review us, we'll take that on board. Yeah, sure, 5 stars, because we know you love. We know you love us. Right, with all that done and said and done, we will catch you down the road.
Bye.